Good evening, Action fans. It's Alec once again from the bridge of the USS Aries, and tonight I have my very special guest, Eric Henry, who is a proud papa of a new 18-minute fan film called Pacific 201 that we have been anxiously waiting, almost as long as people have been anxiously awaiting the next episode of Axanar. And I am very happy for Eric because Eric is one of our key concept designers who started work with us way back when, in 2014 or 2013.
I think it was 13.
13, yeah. Right after Sean Tarnjo came on board, and we were working on the Aries. You came on and started doing all this wonderful stuff that we still have. But we're not here to talk about Axanar. We are here to talk about Pacific 201, which is a really wonderful product. If you have not, heard of Pacific 201, where the hell have you been? I'm trying to answer all the comments that show up on the Axanar channel, and it's always funny where people say, "Oh my God, where's this been? How did I just find out about it?" And I'm like, we've been around for 6 years. I don't know where you've been. I guess YouTube hasn't been feeding it up, but certainly Pacific 201 now is out. Part 1 is out. And here's the plan for tonight, everyone. We're going to queue up episode 1 of Pacific 201. And then we are going to watch it. It's 18 minutes. And then we're going to come back and we're going to chat with Eric. And you get to ask all the questions you want about the making of Pacific 201. I'm sure I'll have questions too. And then, because I have not seen it yet, I've held off watching it just because I wanted to watch it here tonight for the first time. So pretty exciting. So without any further ado, I am going to let's see, cue this up. There we go. I'm going to go full screen on it.
Excuse me, ma'am. I'm with Starfleet Intelligence. I understand this may be a bad time, but...
I know. Commander Bruno's been asking to see me.
That's correct, ma'am. And if I may be honest...
You may?
Just between us, the commander is beginning to think that you may be purposefully avoiding speaking with him.
I already filed my report with the Judge Advocate's office. Commander Bruno can read it. He should answer all of his questions.
There were a few points Starfleet Intelligence wanted to clarify.
Does he really think it necessary?
I'm afraid so, ma'am. What shall I tell the commander?
Very well.
Now, just so there's no misunderstanding, Starfleet has declined to pursue any charges against the Pacific Bridge team, and you are under no obligation to answer any of my questions.
I understand.
Now, because the logs pertaining to the incident are incomplete, we do request a comprehensive and accurate statement of anything you remember.
I can do that.
Very good. So let's start at the beginning. Or no, let's start on stardate 615.752, the day of the incident.
On point 752, we established standard orbit around a Class L planet in the Indira anomaly.
Tell me more about the planet.
By all physical understanding, it shouldn't have been there at all. No natural mechanism would have explained its formation, so our science team felt it deserved immediate study.
Understandable, given your mission profile.
Of course, the planet's unstable nature was unknown to us at the time, as were the effects our warp drive would have on the gravitational forces of the anomaly.
This is Shuttlecraft Taiwan. We're on approach with landing team 2. Please see you, Taiwan. Prepare to dock into Portside Bay.
Shuttlecraft Taiwan, track to lock confirmed. Cargo for docking. Copy that, Pacific. I am taking
Captain Lemire to the bridge. Captain Lemire to the bridge. Chief Fowler, we are here. Chief Fowler, we are here.
bridge.
Captain, we're having trouble maintaining orbit.
Explain.
It almost looks like we're moving backwards at extremely low warp. I can compensate if we engage the warp drive.
Do it. And keep me posted.
Yes, sir.
How's the landing party?
Everything looks alright. The planet is getting more unstable, though.
Connect me to the landing party.
Aye, sir.
Commander, we're getting some signs of increasing instability down there.
Yes, sir. We're feeling the tremors.
I'm calling it. Get the team back here.
Captain.
We've made a breakthrough. I'd like to take a few scans at least.
A breakthrough?
Yes, we found structures, inscriptions, language.
I'll give you 10 minutes, and then get your team back on that shuttle.
Aye, sir. Thank you, sir.
Landing party out.
What was that? The warp effect is accelerating.
Compensating.
Whoa, stop!
What is it?
There was a spike in the gravity shear right when Owsley kicked in the warp drive.
You just noticed this now?
I'm sorry, sir. I didn't know what I was looking for. Here, this is what happened when we started using warp. It's exponential. That means the planet has already passed critical stability.
What?
I can't explain it.
Get that team back here. Get us out of here!
Way ahead of you.
Magic open. Book of Balance. The world's magic open.
Everybody's in. Let's go. All right, seal the edge. Hang on.
How much time do we have?
Less than a minute. Before we're pulverized.
All right, we can match the harmonics and pull out.
We tried that. Warp drive accelerates the planet's breakup.
Impulse, then. I recommend full impulse.
No. Full impulse. Best escape vector.
We can't break free on impulse.
Radar.
There has to be a gravity differential or something. Captain, look!
Red alert!
All hands, this is the XO, General Quarters, main station location.
All polarized, shields up, phasers online. Helm, point our nose into the debris. 10 seconds to impact.
Our shields can handle this, right?
All hands, brace for impact.
Where are my shields? They're up. I don't know what's happening. Phasers, fire at will. It's a problem with the reactor. There's not enough power.
You mentioned using point defense phasers only after the shields proved ineffective. Do you think that it would have been better to employ these measures from the beginning?
In retrospect, yes, but we had no reason to believe the shields wouldn't work.
Or perhaps if your science consultant shared more of her data with the bridge team?
I have no complaint regarding the performance of Lieutenant Lucy Rader.
But that sentiment wasn't shared by the entire crew, was it?
Medical's not here yet.
Turbo lift is out. Lieutenant, what happened to our shields? Our shields. They were completely useless. What happened?
I'm not sure. It'll be hard to tell until we retrieve the sensor logs.
Best guess.
Well, our shields work with gravity.
You knew this was going to happen.
Mr. Lawrence?
I asked her if the shields would work, and she wouldn't say.
No, I just did what
I explicitly asked.
You're out of line, crewman.
You knew the gravity differential would interfere with the shields. We could have adjusted the frequency or something.
Nothing like this has ever happened before.
Crewman, I believe you have other duties.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a problem here?
No, sir.
It looks like we weren't prepared for this mission. Our sensors apparently couldn't detect a very dangerous aspect of this anomaly.
A subspace gravity differential, sir. Our shields, sensors, warp drive, nothing's tuned for it.
Very good. Commander, we lost 22 crew members, and 9 more are still missing.
I understand.
Do you? What have we got?
I think we've got a partial distress signal out.
Very good.
What is it?
It's not from Starfleet, whoever it is. Put it on.
This is Sub-Commander Salar of the Romulan Imperial Navy. My commander wishes to extend an offer of assistance to a ship in distress.
This is Captain Isaac Demir of the Earth Starship Pacific. What business do you have in this sector?
Your interrogation is unwarranted, human captain. for this is unclaimed territory, and our business here is our own, as is yours.
This is just too irregular.
It's a long way from Romulan space around the neutral zone.
They're following us.
I think he's right.
Well, it would be duplicitous, but they're not necessarily breaking any treaties.
Aren't they?
But how did we miss them? Our sensors can't pick up the only other ship in this sector?
The Romulans have sensor cloaks.
Yeah, which we counteracted years ago. So you're telling me you didn't pick up anything on the sensors?
You seem to let crewman Lawrence express himself quite a bit.
Honestly, he was expressing valid concerns.
He was way out of line.
Agreed. And perhaps justice could have been a bit more swift for crewman Lawrence. But you really underestimated my crew.
Me?
Starfleet intelligence. The situation was suspicious, and my crew immediately noticed.
Absolutely nobody could have predicted that the Romulans would appear. Much less under the pretense of humanitarian aid.
Of course not. But somebody could have predicted that the Romulans would be following us, and somebody could have included that in the mission briefings.
All right, let's not get hung up on who did what and why. Let's just continue with the timeline of events.
The Pacific was dead in the water. Sensors were down, and Captain Demir recommended we take up line-of-sight observation of the Romulans with telefocals. Meanwhile, repair efforts were underway across the ship, but with the antimatter reactor damaged, many crucial systems were still down. Then, on Stardate .755 at 1400 hours, Chief Engineer Gabriel officially declared the reactor on cause.
What about the fusion reactors?
We gave those a run for the money with the impulse burn. With all the systems running, I don't think they would last that long. Not unless the Izars are working.
Noted. Any word on the Romulans?
Sensors are still down, sir.
But we're working on it.
Keep me informed.
Yes, sir.
Did those work for you?
Yes, sir. We can track them visually from the upper gallery.
Let's get someone on that post 24/7.
Yes, sir. It just makes me uneasy, them hovering above us like that.
If they wanted to kill us, they would have done it by now. Romulans don't typically announce before an attack.
So, do you believe them, sir?
Let's talk in my ready room.
Yes, sir.
Okay, try it now.
Looks good.
Alright, everything looks normal. Let's just bring up the sensor logs.
The logs?
Yeah, so we can find out what went wrong.
That's okay. I can handle
Look,
it.
I'm sorry about what happened earlier, but
I could order you.
with all due respect.
Just step away from the console.
What?
You're attempting to access restricted
Hey,
material.
no, I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm just trying to do my job.
I should anything. Just never mind.
What's going on?
I'm not obligated to answer any questions, crewman.
Did you see that?
Couldn't miss it.
Something is going on. Classified sensor logs, the Romulans.
Put me through to the Romulans.
Captain, sir,
What is it?
I would like to raise a formal concern, sir.
Check in with your Master Chief or the XO. We're in the middle of a crisis here.
Yes, sir. I think that's what Mr. Lawrence is getting at.
Nothing's adding up, sir. I think a lot of the crew have some questions about the Romulan vessel, sir. And now this business about the classified sensor logs.
Classified sensor logs?
Captain, sir.
She's been hiding information about the Romulans.
I can explain, sir.
You can't just explain this away.
One at a time. Lucy.
No, wait. Everybody listen. This nonsense stops right now. The Romulan vessel was known by Starfleet intelligence. Certain crew members have specific privileges and clearances, like Lieutenant Rader here.
So the Romulans have been spying on us? And we've been covering for them?
Look, I can't answer all your questions, but I can't have baseless speculation tearing this crew apart. That will be all. Contact the Romulans. can't do this alone.
All right. I apologize for the technical difficulties. We don't have the best internet here at the studio, but hopefully everyone was able to watch directly with the link that I provided. So, well, great work, Eric. I mean, that's real. I mean, really good stuff. Obviously, it is. It has taken a long time. Tell me first, what is taking longer than you thought it would take? What were the processes that, was it the compositing? Was it the VFX? Was it, what was it that took, you were like, wow, I can't believe it took me that long to do X?
That's a good question. I think the only thing that really actually took less time than I thought it would take was shooting. I have done other narrative projects in the past, and we always went way over schedule with our shoots. But here, like, everything kind of fell together. The set we built in record time. People's schedules were fairly open, and we were able to knock out shooting pretty quickly. But I do think I probably underestimated how much post-production there would be on this film. There's a lot of visual effects for 18 minutes. And I'm pretty much doing 95% of them, with the exception of like the planet destruction effects and stuff like that, which I had a guy called Ryan Fletcher do, and he does some really cool Star Wars fan films on his channel Skyforge. That's Ryan Fletcher at Skyforge. He did the simulations and stuff, but pretty much everything else I did from scratch. And that's a huge amount of work, massive amount of work. And I don't know that it took longer than I thought it would, but it took a really, really long time.
What about, and what are you working? Would you work in Maya or Lightroom?
Mostly 3ds Max, and occasionally I do shots in Element 3D in After Effects. Quick shots that you can't really tell, that aren't like super high fidelity renders. Those, some of them, some of the hero shots of the Pacific are actually done in Element 3D for the sake of time, because it's just so much faster to work with the workflow that's allowed with that software. But the end results are not, they're not the sort of realism you get from a render out of, professional or more professional software.
What was the technically most difficult aspect of the production for you?
That's an interesting question. Because everything that I did with the production was stuff that I knew I could do. There wasn't stuff, with the exception of the simulations, which I don't really know how to do. There was nothing that I really had to like buckle down and learn how to do. It was basically just using my existing skill set and using my time wisely to make it work. So, I mean, it's kind of evenly distributed, I guess.
And where did you shoot everything? Where did you shoot the live action?
Pretty much everything. Well, that's a good question. Most of it was shot in a garage that we rented. We originally had a space that somebody was donating to us, and that space got sold out from under us, and we had to resort to plan B, and we did an emergency kind of shopping around rental locations, and they were either really, really bad or really, really expensive. And we found a garage that was exactly the right diameter of our set that we had already built, or that we had already designed. We hadn't built it yet, but it was basically exactly correct. So we and the price was good. And we rented that place, and it was funny because I mean that kind of plagued us for the rest of the production, because to use the whole garage with a kind of octagonal set, there were corners that we couldn't access. So fortunately, it actually had 3 points of entry. There was a side door, there was a front garage door, and then a side garage door on the other side. So between those 3 things, we could actually get around the whole set, but you'd have to go outside, walk around the building, and get in from the other side. So we had like our little costume changing area in one corner of the set, but you had to leave the building, come back around to show up for work. But we made it work. And that was pretty much everything that's shot on a set was shot there. And then all the green screen work was done later. And that was just done in a relative's basement where we had a green screen studio that we had set up down there. And that's pretty much where we did all the green screen work.
And was the bridge the only practical set?
No, it's the only practical set that we see in this part. There's another practical set we built, a very partial set of a Pacific interior, basically a wall and a door, and that was also shot there. We would just drag it into the middle of the bridge set and then shoot in the middle of the bridge. But the briefing scene, or the debriefing scene between the intelligence officer and Commander Vandre, is shot on a practical set as well, where we see the panorama of the lagoon behind the window slats.
Right.
That was all captured in camera, and we shot that also in that basement, where we built a very, very partial set that was basically just that vertical window slat window with a rear projection screen behind it, and then we projected images of the scenery. So that was technically a set as well. Just it actually ends immediately after the camera frame ends.
And so, getting now to the production as a whole, when did you actually start working on Pacific 201?
The pre-production started in 2015. And that's when we did our Kickstarter. I think we did it in like the September of 2015. But it wasn't until mid 2016 when we started shooting, I think. It's all such a blur now. I think
that sounds about right to me. I think
we built our set in like February of 2016, because that was like right after the CBS stuff had settled.
Right.
And we're like, okay, we can go forward again. We were kind of holding back. Like, we could have gone forward, but we weren't sure what the future of, fan films was at the time. So we were kind of biding our time. And then, once that kind of came down from on high, and we were sure.
You mean when we settled?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what I was waiting for, but I think that was sometime after that. I forget. It's again, it's all kind of a blur.
We settled in February 2017.
Oh, so was it 2017?
Yeah.
I feel like we didn't start shooting until maybe we didn't start building our set until February 2017. Until February 2017 and not 16. Maybe we spent all of 2016 just. I don't know.
I think that's right, because I think when you were shooting, we were talking. I know I talked with you about, hey, when you're finished, did you want to bring the set down here? Or so that was 2017. So
yeah, it must have been 2017. We must have built it in February 2017, because that's when that would have been like when we felt like we could go ahead. 2016 would have been too early. So yeah, and then we shot until the next. I think we shot until the fall of that year, and then the rest has been post-production, pretty much.
Yeah, it's. And did you edit it as well?
I did. Yeah, I did all of the editing, and then like 95% of the VFX.
What do you edit in? What program?
Premiere.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. And the music?
The music was kind of a collaborative effort. The big like opening theme song that we do when we first show the Pacific was done by Alessio Fidelbo, who was somebody who just donated their time. We had a lot of requests of musicians that said, "Hey, I want to do music for Pacific," you know, and we did kind of like an audition where we sent them a scene of a different, we just found a movie scene that we thought kind of had a lot of different moods to it. And we sent that out to all of the musicians, and this guy gave us some great stuff. So we kind of had a theme in mind that we wanted. So we gave him like a really kind of light, like just a piano melody. We gave him that, and he sent us back, you know, that piece. And then we iterated on it. So there's a musician that I have here that I could really quickly, rapidly iterate with. And we used his orchestrations as kind of a launching point to, you know, kind of iterate the rest of the score.
Gotcha. Well, so from a personal perspective, what was your favorite thing to do on this production?
I honestly think that the early stages are the most fun, where you're building the world, you're writing the script, you're finding out how things work. Everything's new and fresh, and it's like you're designing ships and costumes. You're coming up with lore and history. That's before any of the real work starts. You know, your mind is completely.
Listen, I agree. That's the most fun. You know, it's so funny because things keep popping up on Facebook. Like today, this morning, it popped up one of Tobias's first images of the D6, and it was 8 years ago. So I'm like, holy, 2012. I'm thinking, you know, but yeah, I mean, I was working on it 2012, 13. I mean, those were like, and when did I meet you?
I don't know. It must have been 2013.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah. And you know, and so you were doing all the great set work. I mean, you know, at that point, the sky's the limit, right? You don't know what you won't be able to do. So your mind can fill in all the blanks, and it's a lot. It's just a lot of fun. I love writing the script too. You know, that's always a lot of fun. How much detail did you go into in your work in writing backstories for the characters?
A lot more than made it to screen. Because partially is because the script was a lot longer originally. We had it was over an hour. You know, the script was long enough that the movie would have been over an hour. But that's because probably you were writing it before the guidelines came out. That's correct. Yeah. And when the guidelines came out, like people were saying, well, you're kind of grandfathered in. You were working on this ahead of time. It's like, yeah, but I can't really justify it because we haven't started shooting the script yet. It'd be different if we were already in production, but we were still in pre-production. I'm like, let's play it safe, you know? So I edited the script. I basically cut it in half, which I think that was a good thing in a lot of ways. A lot of what I had written was just kind of laying the foundation of the world. And in retrospect, it's not exciting to anyone but people who are already diehard fans of the universe, and not even just Star Trek, but like the Pacific 201 setting. And like, it's really interesting to me, but I don't think not all of it served the story in a really crucial way. So, you know, finding that kind of kernel of the story in there and then using that for the 30 minutes was, I think, beneficial. But what that meant is a whole lot of character interaction got cut out. And that's where a lot of character backstory and stuff like that. And some of that still bleeds into the movie. And I don't know if it's actually kind of confusing because there's character relationships that we kind of come in the middle of the action too, where characters already know each other's names and stuff. And that's not such a bad thing because that's how Star Trek was, you know, like we didn't see when Kirk and Spock met, you know, they already had a rapport. So after that, I started kind of realigning my approach with the movie to like, oh, maybe this is more like an episode of a series, and we're just kind of coming into it, and we don't really need to know all that context, and we can just focus on this story. And I do want to still publish the rest of the backstory, and I have promised in the Kickstarter rewards that I'm working on a technical manual for the movie. And what that really is just companion literature. And that will be somewhat technical, but it's not going to be like the TNG technical manual. It's going to be more like the visual dictionaries that come out with the Star Wars movies, like pictures and little arrows with labels, and then a little bit of behind the scenes and backstory and stuff like that. And I already have some of that done, but that's going to be kind of my like unwinding project as I can still kind of relish in the universe, but I don't have to actually do any real work. I can just, write out all that fun backstory that it's kind of like going back into pre-production again. I can just, it's just ideas again. That'll be kind of fun.
Yeah, well, I certainly, I think writing all of that backstory, knowing these characters is really, really important. I mean, it's one of the things, when I took a script writing class with Robert McKee, whose book Story you may have read. I mean, it's like the Bible for screenwriting, and he's kind of the godfather of Hollywood screenwriters. And and that's his thing. It is that you really need to know these characters, because you create the characters, and if you really do your work on creating the characters, if you flesh them out and know their backstory and know their motivations and know who these people are, then all you do is put them in situations, and the script kind of writes itself. And I know that's the way I felt about it. I mean, I felt that I knew these characters so well that I could write the script, and I think that was sometimes a little challenging when you have a co-writer maybe that I might have brought in who, didn't know the characters, and you're like, no, he wouldn't say that, or so I think that's really important, is to know these characters and live these characters, because it just makes everything else a lot easier.
Sure. Yeah, I agree with that, and I can sympathize with that.
I know when I cut down the script, when I had to take the script from Axanar from 2 hours down to a half hour, people were like, well, geez, how do you do that? I go, well, you basically cut out all the character stuff.
Sure.
And it sounds brutal. And it was like, wait a second, that's what everyone wants. Everyone wants to know. But you don't have a choice. You have to tell a story, and that's what's really, really important is telling the story. Because you have a story and you want to get from A to B. How you do that then is really important. That's what decides whether it's good or not. Is the story compelling? Is the story, if you're doing, as you just did, 18 minutes, can you get enough characterization in the story that people like your characters?
I mean, it's tough. It's definitely a very restrictive time format that they've given us. But I think restrictions sometimes are beneficial. So I hardly complain about the time limit.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that the time limit is. People have said to me, well, how are you going to tell a story in a half hour? I go, I don't know. TV was built on the half hour story.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Sure.
And then I say, really, go watch the Vulcan scene. That's 3 minutes. I think we told a pretty good story in 3 minutes,
Yeah, I agree.
It's not time. It's I don't know. It's skill, right? It's skill in crafting those characters and crafting that story and meshing them enough where it's something that people want to see.
It is very difficult to get right, but I think it's a fun challenge.
Yeah, no, I think you did a good job. I really. Now, how did you cast it?
How's that?
How did you cast your show?
A lot of it was just people I knew. I've worked on narrative projects, my whole life pretty much. I've known people. Like, I have contacts from high school. I have contacts from college, from community theater, stuff like that. And that's the vast majority of the casting was done that way. There were a few roles that we auditioned. We kind of wanted to do rigorous casting, but our area is not it's not jam packed with acting talent.
Sure.
Here in central Pennsylvania, it's not a major metropolitan area. We're here in the capital of Pennsylvania, but that doesn't say much. It's a very sparsely populated city. So, you kind of have what you have. And given that, I generally settled for people I already knew because it would be easier to work with them and their schedules and stuff like that.
Sure.
But there were a few people that we either scouted or auditioned. So like our captain was somebody we scouted. I did not know him before the production. And then the intelligence officer that debriefs Commander Van Dre was auditioned because we knew he had a ton of dialogue and he needed to be able to, chiefly it was just memorizing lines. So we had to kind of balance delivery with ability. You had some people that maybe could deliver the lines really well, but would be a burden on set because they couldn't deliver big chunks of dialogue. So, it was kind of a hard process, honestly, having to kind of constantly, I don't want to say compromise, but we couldn't be choosy. It's a fan film. If we had money to properly audition and pay actors, that'd be a completely different situation. But when you're dealing with volunteers and people with full-time jobs and families, and it's like, ultimately it's a fan film, and I'm not really looking for professional talent. I'm looking for people who love what they're doing and will support the project and, that sort of thing. So, and I think we found those people.
So this was part one. Part two is when should we expect part two?
Well, I'm working on part two right now, and part two is about as done as part one was a month ago. The difference is I didn't really buckle down and start working on part one full time until like the last 2 weeks before release. So that probably translates to 2-ish weeks of full-time work. So yeah, I mean, the whole thing is done. Like I can sit down and watch part two once this stream ends and get it, it's all there. There's just some gaps in the VFX. There's some gaps in, like the music and just polish, basically, minus a few things that are missing. It's mostly just polish. So it's coming out in December, but I can't say exactly when. Mid-ish December, probably.
Fair enough. Okay. Great. And what's next for Eric Henry after Pacific 201's finished?
Well, I'm going to take a big long vacation, I think.
I bet you are.
Just maybe rent a cabin in the woods for a week or two and just do absolutely nothing.
Disconnect, go off the grid.
Yeah, I've been talking about that to people for months now, and I think I'll let people down if I don't disappear for a while after it's done. So I'm sure people will like to have a break from me constantly talking about the movie, or they're constantly asking about the movie. I go to, my family's constantly asking about, friends are constantly asking about. I'm like, I don't want to be asked about it. I don't want people to have to ask about it. I just want to disappear. That'll be nice. And then when I come back, I guess I'm hopping into the next thing, which is not going to be a fan film. Yeah, my next big project, which I do want to do, is something completely original. So I have a world that I've been working on for years and years and years. I mean, I kind of jokingly tell people I started working on it in second grade, but I really only seriously started working on it the past few years. And I'm collaborating with Margaret Herbener, who was Commander Van Dre, and also the line producer for Pacific 201. She's an excellent writer. And I kind of wish I had her helping me with writing Pacific 201, but she came in kind of later in the production, more as, line producer and an actor. But I discovered that she's actually an incredible writer. And I told her my world and my general story idea, and she just wrote it. And I'm like, this is really good. Like, we basically have a movie here or a mini series possibly. So I'm really excited about that project. I'm not going to go too far into it. But it's kind of like alternate timeline. So it's not science fiction. It's not fantasy. It's like real world, but it takes place in a different world. So it's kind of like 1950s Earth, but a different Earth. And I think it'll be cool.
Great. That sounds interesting. I'm all a fan of alternate history. I just and alternate worlds. I think that's a great way. Sometimes in science fiction we get stuck in a linear. Well, it's got to be in the future, or it's got to be in the past. How far in the future is it? Or it's in a galaxy far, far away. Mm-hmm. Whatever. But and this is what I keep talking about with Star Trek is, which is why one of the problems I had with Discovery was them trying to shoehorn it into the prime timeline. I'm saying it wasn't a problem for JJ. They had a very, very elegant solution. It's an alternate timeline. Why don't you just say it's an alternate timeline? Then you won't have the fans bitching that you're fucking with their canon, And so I'm all a fan for that. So,
yeah. So I mean, if you're really interested, you can see some hints of it. I've done a little bit of concept art for it, and I've posted that to my Instagram, which is I think just EC Henry or something like that on Instagram.
Okay.
And I have some like character sketches and stuff like that. It's all without context, but technically that's all concept art for my next project. Not the drawings, the 2D drawings on my Instagram.
And by the way, if you're a fan of Pacific 201 here, Eric and I did an Axanar Confidential, maybe a year ago, and where we explored all of his concept art and for the bridge and the hallways and the props and everything. So please go back and search our YouTube channel and check it out, because it's certainly it's certainly great. I loved working with you, Eric. You were just awesome. You just really nailed it. You got our universe real fast, and you just started spitting stuff out that was, that was, right in line with. By the way, I'll point out it's so funny to go back and look at some of your bridge designs when we were talking. We were talking about like the separators and sections like this here.
Yeah.
Remember we talked about and maybe putting lights in them and everything. Look at the Enterprise bridge. Look at, Anson Mount's Enterprise bridge. I was like, they fucking stole that from Eric and I. I said, that's exactly. I mean, I could pull out one of your concept art and say, this is what they did. They one more thing that they did from Axanar, which is I'm all good about. But I was like, that is absolutely Eric's design. Which I find humorous. So, well, good. Give me your best memory of making Pacific 201. What's the one thing you say, this was the coolest thing ever?
I think just kind of seeing it coalesce, maybe the most satisfying part. I could maybe say the most satisfying thing was seeing the stunt sequence on the shuttlecraft.
Oh yeah.
Because when we shot that, it was so like, it was very hard to imagine how that would all work. We had Margaret Herbener just hanging on a scaffold with a green screen, and she was actually doing like the pull-ups and stuff to like pull up and everything. That was actually like a real stunt, as it were, but it was, you know, just on a green screen studio. And it was kind of hard to imagine that kind of, you know, like kind of unflattering shoot where it's just like this, I have to rotoscope out the scaffold and have to replace all this. And we have like somebody with a leaf blower off screen blowing the hair and stuff. Like this doesn't look cool. But then, you know, putting it into the scene and then green screening the footage and then putting it into the 3D scene and tracking it all in. It's like, wow, like that felt really good. Like all that work, you know, really paid off, where we actually had to like go and pick up the scaffold and drive it back to the garage and set it up and make sure it's safe. And it's like all that hard work. It's like, there's the shot, you know, and that felt really good because that shot, more so than most shots of the movie, you know, had this big, long production history behind it. And it was just so nice to just sit back and say, there it is. That's the shot.
Yeah, I can see that, man. That's awesome. That's great. Very satisfying indeed. Very, very, very satisfying. So we're good. What's the funniest thing that happened on set?
Probably, I mean, it was kind of a running gag. All the chairs were extremely unstable. So we had, I think they were like Boeing jumper chairs from like passenger liner cockpits.
Right.
I bought a lot of those on eBay, and they're meant to be bolted into the floor of a cockpit. So they don't stand up super well on their own, particularly when you sit in them at certain angles. And we kind of had to constantly remind people that the chairs are out to get you. So we were really, really careful with the sitting down in those chairs. Our actors had to like learn how to get into them. But what we neglected was that I had hand built the captain's chair, which was also not bolted to the ground. And with all of this, you know, hubbub about, you know, don't kill yourself on the bridge chairs, the first catastrophe happened when the captain sat in the captain's chair and flew backwards, and we caught him just in time to save him, I guess. So I thought that was a little ironic, where we had a few near misses with the other chairs, but it was the captain's chair that was the death trap.
Ours are the same way. We have here, I'll even show you. So there's 4 chairs that we have that are let's see if I can show them to you. Okay, so you can see the base of that chair. So
right.
These chairs, those chairs are literally from the Shield helicarrier set from Marvel. So you know they're great, right? I mean, it's like, you look at the production value of the base they put on. Now, this is what the chair's bases look like to start. If you can see that.
Okay.
So those are from Ender's Game, because those were bolted to the floor. So when we got them, they were like, you can't even sit on. I mean, you can sit on them. It's like sitting on a pogo stick. So we screwed it to a piece of plywood. It's still not perfect because it's a rectangular piece. So you have to set the plywood up, and then you got to know not to rock back because that's the short side of the plywood. So, you know, any important scene, we're always switching out. We have 4 helicarrier chairs. So we're always switching those out. It's crazy. So I know, I feel your pain, man. I feel your pain. Damn chairs. By the way, I'm just gonna have to give Stuart shit. I mean, Stuart, we've been doing this since 10. You just show up now? Like, come on, what kind of fair weather friend are you? Get your ass out here earlier. Eric deserves your attention. Is that what they are, Sturm? Well, good. Listen, I'm so happy for you, and I'm so excited that it's out. We will definitely post a link to it on our Facebook page, and I know Jonathan Lane's posting about it on Fan Film Friday on our blog. So you're getting getting plenty of it. You don't, Stuart. Don't lie to me. You don't have a life. You know, you're just lying. All you do is Trekyards. Trekyards is not life. Get out of here. No, we love Stuart and his better half. I'm going to call him Samuel, over in the UK. They're great guys, and so like Jonathan, they're good. You know, good for fan films. We appreciate. We always appreciate everything they've done for Axanar over the years. So. Well, good. Listen, thanks, Eric. I mean, thanks for coming out. We really appreciate it. We're really excited for you. We can't wait for you to come down and see this bridge that you helped design. You know, we're talking about things we can do to modify it for our next project, which is not Star Trek. Which we'd love to get you involved with too.
Maybe I can help. Yeah, I can design not Star Trek as well.
We'll talk. That's
okay.
Cool. But thank you so much. Thanks for everything you do. I will make sure we show off more of your design work, which is amazing. One of the things, it's funny because today I was thinking I really need to get our communicators 3D printed because that was just beautiful work. You know, we actually made one of the pads that you designed.
Oh yeah, really? Huh.
Yeah, we actually made one of them and we've used it twice now. As a matter of fact, it's for view I don't know how well you see it, but in the decommissioning, in that little test movie that Jeff Fagan did, you see Garth, the pads on Garth's on the captain's chair, and so yeah, it's good. We had a prop guy out in Arizona made it for us. It's beautiful. It's really
cool.
I really want a communicator. Your Axanar communicator looks so good. All that stuff's going to make its way into the Art of Axanar book as well.
Okay.
Yeah. I've already started planning all those books, because there's just so much great art that we've gotten over the years, and I want to make sure we show it all off. So, all right. So everyone, be ready for next month when Pacific 201 Part 2 comes out. And by that time, we should have fiber gigabyte internet at my house. So we'll be able to do this and show it properly so people don't have to go to YouTube and watch it themselves. Oh, God, Paul, you're always causing me work. All right. Well, listen, my friend, as always, thank you so much for being here. Thank you. Congratulations on a great fan film. We are looking forward to Part 2, as I'm sure everyone is, and we'll chat some more.
Thank you very much.
All right, everyone. Thank you once again for coming out for episode 86 of Axanar Confidential from the Bridge of the Aries and Eric Henry and Pacific 201. We will see you next Friday. I have no idea what's happening next Friday. But until I get internet at my house, we won't be doing evening live streams just because I like being at home with the puppies and Crystal. Gotta say, and Crystal. Don't want to think it's just the dogs I like. So stay tuned. Next week, Axanar Confidential will be on Black Friday, and which should be a lot of fun. So everyone make sure. Oh, Adam Vera getting it in there. Look at him getting it in at the last second, getting his $5 super chat in. Adam Vera, the king of the super chats. This is for you, my friend Adam Vera. Thank you so much. You and your black pickup truck. So thank you so much. We will see everyone next Friday. Everyone have a great, safe Thanksgiving. Please limit the number of people you go to Thanksgiving dinner with because the COVID is really kind of out of control right now in this country. Everyone needs to stay safe. It is not something to mess with. And remember, as always, wear your damn mask. That's it. Live long and prosper. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. We will see you next week for Black Friday, the Black Friday edition of Axanar Confidential. So thanks again, Eric. You be good.
Thank you very much.